You've just landed on the Coolest People in the World podcast, a show that features stories of cool people doing really cool things. From business, art, and travel to lifestyle, mental health and family, and everything in between. Join host Krystle J. Bailey as she introduces you to some of the coolest people in the world. Here's Krystle.
Welcome back to the Coolest People in the World podcast. I am back with another episode with this week's coolest person, Melanie Waldman. Welcome, Melanie.
Hello. You're the coolest, though. Thank you for having me.
Aw, I'm so glad you're here. This is a really cool story. We were saving some of our behind the scenes to not even talk about it so we can talk about it here on the show. So I just want to say hello to everybody listening. Thank you for listening over the past few weeks. It's been an amazing ride. I'm just thankful, and I just want to say thank you for everybody who believed in this from the beginning, and I'm excited to see where the Coolest People in the World podcast is going to go, because week after week after week, the responses that I'm getting, the guests that we're talking to, it's been so far a really, really enjoyable ride, and I know that it's just beginning. So this week, my guest, the super cool thing that she does among a million cool things, she is on-air talent in adaptive fashion at QVC. I mean, that's pretty darn cool.
It's wild to hear it back. Even me talking about it, I still get little butterflies in my stomach. It's still pretty new for me. It's been a couple years that I've been doing this, but I love every second of it.
Melanie's story kind of blew my mind the first time I heard it. I wrote a story about her, and I was amazed by the woman behind this image, and the image is already phenomenal. The image is already cool. She teaches adaptive yoga, and for context, she experienced limb loss in 2013. Her right arm
below the elbow.
Mm-hmm. See, I'm learning all the terms.
No,
She's been teaching me.
Yeah. Oh, so I do have something to teach you. Actually, we'll do a visual description. So you take a moment to think about yourself and how somebody who is vision impaired might not be able to see every detail of you, so you would describe. So my name is Melanie Waldman, like she said. Mm-hmm. I am a Latina woman. I look predominantly white, but I have brown hair, curly hair that is so frizzy this time of year, I can't control it. I'm currently wearing a brown hoodie with my right sleeve rolled up because, like she said, I am a right arm amputee, and I have brown eyes, and I'm wearing some Fenty Rihanna lip gloss today.
I love that description.
That is my visual description.
Oh, you want to do it for me? Can you do it to me?
It's a self-identifying.
Oh, it's a self. Yes. Okay, I'll do it.
So, how would you... I close my eyes. What am I looking at?
I am a fair-skinned European woman, racially ambiguous, I've been told.
Great.
I have a buzz cut.
Yes, you do.
And I am wearing a blue MTV hoodie and a jean jacket, and I'm wearing some chapstick because that's really all I wear.
This time of year in Jersey, it is frigid, absolutely frigid. And I was telling you this morning, I was driving up from Atlantic City to Trenton and saw in Jersey, they have these really funny meme traffic signs. They always change, and it's something to do with Jersey. Mm-hmm. So today's sign was I don't remember the first part about it. It said driving distracted, and then below it, it said in one word, forget about it.
Yeah.
And I drove on the whole way up here. I'm just forget about it. We are so unapologetically Jersey, very much Sopranos. Yep. We all kind of have this really ambiguous in between North Jersey and Philadelphia accent that nobody can explain.
Where
other than
are you from?
Water.
I say water for what it's worth.
Well, I was just visiting my brother in Arizona, and his girlfriend's family came out because we were there. So we meet, and his girlfriend's family is from Texas. And the accents at the table were I was living my best life. I'm an actor. We'll get into all of the things that I do. But I'm just sitting there and observing all of these accents. And my dad's going, can you pass the water? And I just would cry laughing.
I love this.
Yes.
So let's get into this. So you are an actress. So you went to Rutgers University.
I did.
And you were part of the student program at Disney. Can we start there? Because you're so many things, but that's already cool.
So I graduated in 2013 from Rutgers, like you said, in New Brunswick, and I majored in both journalism and in theater. I went into school for animal science, which was not right for me. And along my journey, I've been learning what's not right for me. And that was kind of the first step. And I was not disabled at that point. We knew that I might have had some kind of immunocompromised state within me. My mom has rheumatoid arthritis, and before I was in high school, I think she had both knees replaced.
Oh, wow.
So she's had a journey herself with her health, and I remember growing up playing basketball and like a knee would hurt and my mom would be like, okay, like we should watch that, or there are parts of you that we should get checked out eventually. But during school, I remember my senior year, right before I graduated and went to Disney, I got so sick that actually I think one of my arms, I can't remember which one, got locked into a 45-degree position.
Oh, wow.
I was in a sling because I couldn't extend my arm all the way. I had to kind of turn my chest to reach for things, and it just didn't feel right. Rutgers sent me to a specialist, their health system, and they said, you're going to Disney, find a rheumatologist when you get down there. Mm-hmm. They're going to want to check you out. So I did. I ended up on the Disney College program, and I was so fortunate to book a job as technically talent, but also it's hard to explain. It was talent / retail mm-hmm. because what we would do was take the guests in, and it was called the Pirates League. Mm. So we would give them a pirate name and then give them a makeover and really interact with them. Right. There was a lot of playing between all of the pirates there. It was its own little circle of the park. And I remember we would have what's called the Pieces of 8, like Jack Sparrow has. He was our captain. It was one of the only costumes in the park where you could customize it by your piece of 8. So we as pirates would get together afterwards, and we were all friends, and I'm still pretty much connected with those people.
I love that.
A lot of what I was talking about, it's a leap year, so there was an extra day of the month where they celebrated Rare Disease Day, and I made a post and put it up saying, this is what happened to me, but this is how I moved on through it mm-hmm. and grieved it, but healed myself in the process.
I love that.
Thank
which is
you.
What I want to talk about.
I know. I know that's you.
That's my jam.
That's your jam too.
Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for being so open.
Yeah.
Can you talk in your pirate voice? Did you have a pirate voice?
The other day, I teach actors who were all disabled, and we did I can't carry on. I forget what it was. I think it was my online class, and I was like, "Are you ready?" And they're like, "This lady."
I've lived lives. I've been a pirate.
I don't fake it till I make it. I am all in, authentic. I will give everything my all. So I love, getting that part of my job where I work for a company called We Spare and Ryan. Mm-hmm. My boss, Stephanie Ryan, and Quinn Showell, her son, they are two amazing people. And what they do is I'll get a booking, say, on a class day when I can't teach. Mm-hmm. They're like, okay, we got it. You go do your thing. We want to see our students see you shine.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful. Yeah, it's just such a nice experience. I've had students say to me, I love what you're doing. You're just like us. And you get to
They need to see what it's possible. And that's part of the education process in general. Just show me what's possible. I'll learn along the way. I'll figure it out, but show me.
Let me see you do it wrong, too, on top of that. Let me see you try and fail. And then try again.
Everything's a teaching opportunity.
It is. It really is.
So you were in Disney, you were working as a pirate, you were pursuing dreams. You wanted to be a Disney princess.
Yes, I wanted to go down the line and be a character performer fully, where I wasn't just doing retail and working with the guests one-on-one, which was lovely. I loved that experience, but I wanted to grow beyond that and was hoping to be what's called a face character, which is either be a princess or be somebody who is costumed, which in, summer in Orlando is a lot. But I wanted to be a part of it, or be a parade dancer, something where I was using my body and my art and getting paid for it, because that's the ultimate goal as an actor, as a model, which sometimes, being in QVC, I talk about it's a little bit of imposter syndrome, just because right now the industry is at a lull. We just came off the SAG-AFTRA strike, and I'm a member, so I'm still looking for those opportunities.
So let's get back to when you were in Disney. You're working in the Pirates League. Was it Pirates League, right?
Pirates League.
Talk to me about what happened with your arm. Take me through the journey.
Sure. When I was working in Disney, there were opportunities for us to play in the parks as much as we wanted afterwards. You could work in the park. I was in Magic Kingdom, which I thought was the most wonderful place to work. I probably would have been upset if I didn't work there. Let's just put it that way. So I would play in the parks after, say working 6 hours, I would play in the parks for another 8 hours. Yeah. And I kept going and was consistently just wearing myself thin without really knowing it. We call it being a spoonie, which is like using up your battery, using up your spoons. You have one spoon to shower in the morning, one spoon to commute to work, but you only have 3 spoons for the day. So by the time I was even just showing up, I was already exhausted. So I think that process of wearing myself thin and not knowing that I was immunocompromised, I wore myself too thin to the point of my hands changing color. That was kind of one of the first signs. My right hand was a lot paler than my left. And I was also experiencing a lot of dizziness. I would get up, I would have fevers consistently, and then would get up, go try and walk to the restroom and walk into a wall because I would turn too short.
And for context, you were 22 at the time.
I was 22, was just freshly out of college and living on my own. Technically, for the first time, I did have roommates, thank God, because they were a really big part of getting me to the health professionals I needed to see. There weren't any near us. Everything was a drive. Orlando is massive, and we would have to drive all the way into the city to go to Florida Hospital to visit the doctors there. So I get to about 4 months in, and this is happening to my hands. I'm exhausted, so I go see the rheumatologist down there. I forget what his name is, but he diagnosed me with lupus at the time. And that was all we needed to know. But we then were seeing the discoloration in my hand after using prednisone and all of these medications to try and make me better. He said that morning we would go to see a vascular surgeon. A friend of mine from actually back in my hometown took me. She was also working on the program. And she spent the entire day with me that day because the way that my doctor put it was, you'll go see this vascular surgeon and most likely you're going to the hospital.
Oh, wow.
So I went and was admitted the same day. And when that happened, I think I gave my mom the heads up, like this is what's happening. And as soon as I was admitted, she hopped a plane and she came down. However, I was still in the process of being seen and them trying to figure out what was wrong with me. My mom gets there, my friend leaves. And I ended up having about 5 or 6 surgeries at University of Orlando Hospital, I believe, which was in the middle of Orlando. However, it wasn't a teaching hospital, so they had to actually send me to University of Florida in Gainesville, which was 2.5 hours away. Now, while this is happening, they're telling me that I need to be medevaced and taken on a helicopter. However, my mom from Jersey is in Florida with me, and we're like, no, that's not happening. Luckily enough, there was bad weather that night, and yes, she was able to ride in the ambulance with me.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was really nice, and I ended up being at University of Florida for another 25 days, and that's when my arm was amputated about a week after I was told. It wasn't like I went to sleep, woke up, no arm.
Yeah.
There are people who have traumatic instant limb loss. Mine was progressive because they wanted to see how much of my arm was still remaining and functional. Thank goodness. I still have my elbow because that's how I'm able to manipulate now my electric prosthesis. And we've talked about all of my devices.
Yes, they're so fascinating. She has lights and gadgets and all kinds of
I have my water
things.
bottle, and I have a little sticker from the team of Tasca on it. So Tasca is the hand that I use. It's called a multi-articulating myoelectric hand, and I love that thing.
Color that in for us, because that was a big old word. What does it do? Because it's fancy.
What's funny is that, my background is in the arts. So now I'm, in the world, I know medicine and medical terms. Like I suffered from heparin-induced thrombocytopenia, and that's actually what resulted in my limb loss. But all of these terms I'm just picking up from what's happening to my body and not just the education that I had in school. Life teaches you as much as school does. And I have learned that the hard way.
I think a little bit more. Life is definitely the biggest teacher.
Absolutely. So the Tasca is really just so amazing. I have the first generation. There is a new one out, but you can control it with your phone. You can change the different grips with it. It's amazing what it can do. It's actually waterproof up to the wrist as well. So you can do dishes, you can garden. It's meant for very heavy duty work.
I love that. So we're going to get to how you're absolutely thriving, and you are, and this is a story of just complete beauty and awe to me, because you took something that could have been tragic, something that could have changed your life for the worse, sent you on a different path, and you took it and you used it, and you've created such a beautiful life for yourself. Before we get to that, though, it's really important. I want to ask you, what did that feel like? You were young, you had these goals, and, that did change your career path. So can we talk a little bit about that?
I think at the time, I was very self-conscious about it. I mean, we talk about imposter syndrome. I think that was what I was experiencing before I knew what it was. And was thinking, I'm never going to be an actor again unless I do have some sort of prosthesis where I look equal on both sides. I did end up, I call it my Barbie arm. I have a Barbie arm that does nothing with my muscles. It does not move. You just put it on. I haven't worn the thing since I got it.
Wow.
It's just like
just to look like you have an arm?
Right, because I thought that was what an actor was, and it's not. I learned that I think a few years later. What was it? So my limb loss was 2013, and in 2017, I got my first acting gig. Well, maybe 2016, 2017. So I got back into it slowly but surely. A girl from our area in South Jersey, her name is Rachel Handler. She participated in what's called Disability Film Challenge, and that's a really big part of my story as well. So that transformed my entire trajectory of my acting career as an artist, and I ended up getting representation from all of that.
And you are the representation in many, many ways. So at what point did you decide you're not going to take my goals, I'm going to still do all these things, and I'm going to chart forward?
What was really helpful in the process of my limb loss was that they matched me up with a therapist in the hospital who taught me to use meditation as a tool for healing, which I have since carried on. You know this about me. I now teach yoga. So when I was going through this process, I was using that. My parents were meditating with me. I was meditating, and meditation brought me back to the practice of yoga, which as a dancer, as somebody in musical theater, was a big part of my journey before I graduated college. So yoga has always been this magical thing to me. I remember being a camp counselor and just all the kids in Shavasana just stopping everything and just being like, that's it? That's all I had to do. So I've always carried that with me, and it's really rewarding in my hospital room too, in the space where I was physically healing, which was the tiniest room in the burn unit, may I say.
Oh, wow.
My dad and I were in this squished room. Everybody else, it's a burn unit, so they're going to need a lot of space, and it's all quarantined off, but we're like in the closet.
Why is it a burn unit? What is the...
Oh, so I was actually in 3 ICUs when I was in that hospital, University of Florida, Shands Hospital. I was in the regular... No. I first was trauma ICU, then was regular ICU, which a regular ICU? That doesn't really make, that's an oxymoron. And then finally the burn unit, because they had to put a skin graft on my arm, which only part of it was able to heal all the way, but it still was helpful. They took it from my leg, which I think was honestly for me the most painful part was the skin graft.
Really?
But I, went through a journey. I think I told you I was medically addicted at one point and really had to, do a lot to come off of all of that. So I'm very anti, using hard medications. And it's very hard when, there are things that we can't deal with that are outside of our control. And being disabled is also like you have to constantly battle yourself in the high pain days. I have chronic pain because of all of these things.
Yeah.
Battling that with, what do I use to control that? Meditation comes back into play for me.
So what would you tell your 22-year-old self about the journey from this point of view now?
I would tell 22-year-old me to buckle up.
I like that.
I mean, it's a metaphor for being in Disney and going on Disney rides too,
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
You're riding that wave of life. I don't know if I keep thinking back to that and being like, would 22-year-old believe me if I went back and said, listen, you're going to be disabled, but all of the things that were in your way before, you're going to figure out how to move past them. I was a really anxious kid. I actually ended up in remedial classes because I had a panic attack during state testing growing up.
Wow.
And there was no way of getting me out of it. And I had to do it. And even the teacher was like, this is so silly.
Wow.
This girl is so talented.
Like, you are.
I know I'm a smart person, and we all knew that. I was gifted and talented
Me
before
too.
this, right? Like
that's why we're a little weird now.
That does not make me surprised by one thing. That is no surprise at all.
Let's bring it up to speed. So you spin the wheel. You are a yoga teacher. You are an actress. You are an acting teacher. You are a QVC model. Where do you want to go?
I'm going to use that term.
Spin the wheel. What do you want to know?
Oh, my God, because that's the thing. My dad made fun of me the other day. He was like, you tell stories and they don't end. And I was like, come on.
I just said on my way to the studio today, I was talking to one of my best friends, and I said, I don't think I have finished one of these thoughts.
Nope.
But I needed to get it all out so I could come here and be here.
And this is why you're my people.
Our conversations
100%.
off.
We're like, where was I? Brain fog, where was I?
So, spin the wheel, Melanie Waldman.
Okay, this week, the hat that I'm wearing, Saturday I'm leading a yoga class. So I teach adaptive yoga both online and I teach it also in person, which in person is obviously my favorite because I get to physically be in the room with my people. And online is great too because access, period.
Absolutely.
That's the end of the day.
Show when it's possible.
Right. So we just take time to be together. It's a big community event when I have it, and I really encourage caretakers to come in as well. I've trained with what's called Accessible Yoga Association, led by Jivana Heyman, who's a wonderful person, and he was really big on, anybody of any ability is welcome to this practice. One of my teachers beyond that, her name was Carrie Hanlon. She's based in Conshohocken, and she teaches at a studio called Yoga Home, where I took her adaptive yoga training. She taught me because she was a caretaker. Sadly, her son passed from CP when he was, I believe in his 20s. He was really young. But she continues to teach adaptive yoga in her studios. She invites caretakers in because she was that caretaker.
Right.
So taking her training really taught me that during this journey, my mom was by my side, my dad was by my side. They even flew my brother down to be with me. He was in the post that I made on Rare Disease Day, and they surprised me with him on top of that, which was just very special. I knew it was happening, but I was so medicated in that hospital.
Your family seems so supportive.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very lucky in that way, and I know that. And
your dad, it just reminded me when I wrote a story about Melanie, and I got an email. Didn't I get an email from your dad?
You did.
I forgot
that.
about that too. I got an email from her dad, the proud father that he is. He loved the way it was written, and he was so proud of you. And I was like, oh, this is like the nicest compliment I've ever gotten.
Yeah, he's the son of an English teacher, so we're big on words.
Yes.
Our family, very big on it, and big speeches and taking moments to just soak things in. You know, religion and Judaism is a really big part of my family as well. So that's family time and quality time together are just priceless.
Absolutely.
So,
I love that so much.
They took me on a trip with them. They didn't have to do that. I could have stayed home and watched the dogs, which is usually what I do anyway.
Right.
And we got to have the whole family together, which is very rare for us.
That's really
so
nice.
we take time to have those moments together.
That's
for sure.
beautiful.
I love that. Yeah.
So, yoga.
So the yoga hat this week, I have my first in-person class of the year I'm having this weekend.
So where can people follow what you do for yoga?
I have Adapting Yoga on both TikTok and on Instagram. You can find all of my information at www.onair.Melanie Waldman, which is MELANIEWALDMAN. I'm also on Instagram at Where's Waldman, but they feed into each other. I collab with my own pages. Who does it these days?
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. Me too. So, all right, let's get back to it then. So, yoga, acting. I do want to talk about acting. So
absolutely.
You were part of the film. We didn't get a chance to dive into that. Talk about the film
challenge.
Yeah, the film challenge.
So yes, the film challenge is such a cool opportunity. Anybody can be on a team. You just have to have one person with a disability on your team. It's led by somebody incredible who's named Nick Vicky.
What is this called?
I'm sorry. The Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge is what is officially called. Yes. And the best part about this is that you get mentorships, you get grants. This year they have the biggest grant of the year, which is $15,000.
Wow.
As like what? Where does? Oh my goodness! I don't think I can do this year. Sadly, I have prior engagements this year. Unfortunately, I'm trying my best. If I can make it to their finale, I'll be there. Fingers crossed, because the finale is at Sony Pictures Lot in Los Angeles.
Oh wow!
I've been twice so far, and I had FOMO last year out the window because I saw that Jamila Jamil was there, who I absolutely adore. She's a huge advocate for minorities, people of color, people with disabilities. I think she just had an athletic event in the UK, and I'm like, pick me, come to the US.
We'll tag her in the show.
Sure, we can do that. She's cool. She's good.
My favorite line is "Closed mouths don't get fed. Speak what you want."
Oh yes, absolutely. Tell the universe. Why not?
Absolutely.
So Disability Film Challenge, I've actually won that twice, and it's been such a cool ride. The opportunities I've had, like I said, I got representation from that experience, and I will credit that to being how I got to QVC. That's 100%.
Which you still have to talk about.
Which I still have to talk about. Yeah, it's so cool. I got to do the Selma Blair fashion line launch with Isaac Mizrahi, who I'd worked with before that, which so amazing. Selma Blair has MS, and she had shirts with magnetic closures. I believe there were magnetic zippers. Even the sleeves were designed so that you could roll them up above your amputation on your arms. There's also pants that have pockets on the sides for people who are seated. So if you're in a wheelchair, you don't have to awkwardly reach for. I moved away.
From the mic.
Awkwardly reach for something in your pocket. I mean, that's a pretty good description.
Yeah, that was in real time.
Right, exactly. So they have like the cargo pant pockets on the upper thigh, so they can reach that better. And sometimes they'll even have zippers on them, so things won't fall out of them, which is like, duh.
I love that. So what is your favorite thing that you've worn?
Ooh, wow. What a great question. I'm going to go with Pamela Carver's beach pants from Denim & Company, which I recently got to both model. And she has 46 pairs now she ordered because she loves them so much. Pam is another model with Denim & Company who I work with all the time. gorgeous, gorgeous woman inside and out. She has 46 pairs of this pant, and I tried it on the show the other day, and oh my goodness, I liked it so much. I bought myself a pair, one of the pairs I wore on TV. Even, I'll send you the picture.
I love that. So what makes, for you, an adaptive piece of clothing? What makes that work for you?
For me, I like the zippers, even for me, zippers on the pants, because I usually only use one side of my pants pockets. So having a zipper closure or a Velcro, something to close that is so helpful. So I'm not constantly dropping things, which gravity is not my friend with one hand. I will tell you that. It's just not. It's not a thing. A lot of the other things, I try to... I don't know if I wear a lot of adaptive fashion in my own sense. I wear a lot of designs at QVC. I think right now I just am a fashion model, which I think is a really beautiful thing.
Yeah.
They don't just categorize me and kitty corner me in one place. They give us opportunity.
That's awesome.
Some of the things that I wear that I think are accessible are probably, you know, different types of undergarments where I don't have to have things that are complicated. And they have a lot of those as well, which is really nice to see. So they think above and beyond. It's not just in fashion that they have adaptive features. You can go to QVC.com and just look up adaptive. Selma Blair is actually, I believe, their ambassador for accessibility there. So you'll see her face if you look that up.
This is so beautiful, which also leads me to the next. What do you teach at Wiesbury Ryan?
So yes, I teach students with developmental disabilities. It's called Rising Stars Program. And oh my gosh, how many students do we have? Probably about 50 or 60. We are in both Atlantic County and in Cumberland County. And fingers crossed, hopefully we're going to be opening in Camden County very soon. And they can sign up. We have a lot of sit-ins. If people are ever curious and you know, say you're disabled and you want acting lessons, we teach people of all abilities. It's not just people with disabilities. And Wiesbury Ryan is a local casting office as well. So before I even worked for them, they cast me in Halle Berry's Bruised, which shot at Boardwalk Hall and at Ocean. Fantastic time. Just amazing.
What was your role in it?
So I was a photographer, and I was in the crowd. You can see me when she is at Boardwalk Hall coming out to the ring. It's a boxing movie or an MMA.
Yeah.
It's an MMA movie. So you'll see her coming out. And a lot of my friends got to be in that too, who were local. And I'm a part of the Philadelphia Union in South Jersey. We don't have our own office, but I've had a lot of opportunities just to work. So Wiesbury Ryan did Bruised, and they also did Clerks 3. And that was so fun. You'll see me in the background of the scene in no spoilers, but there's a scene where they audition a bunch of talent, and we're looking at the stage and it's just cameras. But in the movie, there's A-listers that I'm looking at and reacting to, but they didn't tell me that. I had no idea. I was just there in the background. But you can
just
see my bionic though, so that's cool.
I love that. That's awesome. We were talking before we came on about showing people what's possible, and that's why I brought up the teaching. So I do want to talk a little bit about the students, if it's okay. You don't have to share names or anything like that, but what does that feel like? So taking this whole journey, you started out, you were going to go to Disney, you were going to do these things, your arm, limb loss. She has been teaching me so many proper words to use, because I've been asking questions like, tell me what to say, how to say it, and use it properly. I try to be. You experienced your limb loss in 2013, and life changed. And now here you are on QVC, and also showing other children with disabilities, hey, this is possible. This doesn't limit you. What is that like?
I mean, it's difficult to say because Jersey as a film location is very hard to keep my students motivated. I'm not going to lie to you. Before the pandemic, there was a tax credit that Governor Murphy, thank goodness, he implemented for these films to come in and get a percentage off of that tax credit. So there were probably 3. So Bruised, and then I did a film called The Retaliators. Oh my goodness. And I can't remember the third one. I think I did New Amsterdam in New York City. These were all over the region, and films were seeming to pop up all over the place, and it was bubbling and things were happening. And there are still things happening. It's just bouncing back so slowly that even in Los Angeles, the people I'm talking to who are disabled actors are saying how slow it is. However, the good news is that now I'm seeing, I think this week I saw 5 different castings. A couple didn't fit the descriptions of my students, and unfortunately not all of them can get every casting. So it's hard to, keep them motivated. But I think in my booking things still, I'm very fortunate that I do get to, show them, keep going, don't stop, do your work, kind of keep your head down and study right now. And it teaches me that I need to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
It reflects onto me. I have to practice what I'm preaching. And even We Spare, and they coach me as well outside of what I'm teaching my students. So that's the other beautiful part of what I get to do. Thank goodness
really
for them. I love you.
Oh, that's really awesome. So
I love you, students.
Oh, love you, students. We love you,
everybody.
students. All right. So I have to ask you the big question.
Okay.
All this said, when do you feel like you are the coolest person in the world?
I feel like the coolest person in the world right now. I feel like the validation of being on a podcast called The Coolest People. What is that for me? Ego, hello?
No, I love that. That's why I wanted this show.
Yeah, I get that. I feel that because it's hard to remind yourself. I struggle all the time. I'm doing all of these cool things, and yet still I tend to tell myself it's not enough. It's not good enough. It is a struggle. It's a daily struggle, and there are things. A lot of what my yoga teaching is I'm feeling isolation this week, and I know you're feeling it too, because the disabled community is constantly isolated, which is just so bizarre because before the pandemic, people didn't get it.
Right.
People didn't understand what it was like to live in this experience and only being able to access people by Zoom.
Right.
And then all of a sudden this happens. So I kind of like behind the scenes, I knew going into this, they're like, 2 weeks, COVID, 2 weeks will come back.
Right.
I'm reading all these articles about it hitting Europe, and they're telling people, if you're immunocompromised, expect 18 months. So I was like, we're going to be here a minute.
Yeah.
And that's when I ramped up, all the things that I'm doing, which now concluded to, I do have my own podcast. My podcast is Little Miss Representation, and I just had Nick Novicki, who is the leader of Disability Film Challenge, on because he was also the voice of Lego Spider-Man in Across the Spider-Verse.
How cool is that?
Yes, so my first Marvel interview is out there. It's currently just on YouTube, but check the airwaves. It might be out soon. I'm hoping to get it out just like this onto platforms everywhere.
Absolutely.
So we'll see.
Well, send me the link and we'll put it in the show description.
I will absolutely do that. It's been such a joy, and I'm really excited for what the future holds with all of that too. Thank goodness for Amplitude Magazine. They're my sponsors. They present it, and they are fantastic people. They serve the disabled amputee community, but beyond that as well, people with disabilities.
I love that so much.
Great.
I love this for you, and I love what you did for your life, and it's an honor to know you and call you a friend. She tagged me on Instagram this morning. I'm the only person that would have her up this early.
I try to be the best person I can, man. That's all.
You absolutely are. You absolutely are. Well, thank you for your time today and for being on The Coolest People in the World. Definitely follow Melanie. Listen in every Thursday for a new episode. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, comment, send a messenger pigeon. Tell everybody about The Coolest People in the World podcast, because we are here and we are telling stories just like this. Thank you, Melanie.
Thanks for having me. I love you.
I love you.
You've been listening to the Coolest People in the World podcast with Krystle J. Bailey on the new Pod City Podcast Network. Visit us online today at thecoolestpeoplepodcast.com.